Alright, so this video is going to walk you through basically how to build a longboard. Just a little disclaimer, this is my first board ever making, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the best way to make it, it's just how I made it. So just take what I do as a suggestion, and definitely you can check out other videos on how to make boards, but I just kind of did my research myself, and I kind of found this way to be the easiest and kind of a path of least resistance. I started out by talking about the wood I'm using, and I'm using red oak. This is definitely probably not your first choice. I'll probably go with bamboo or something like that. Um, but this wood kind of worked out for me and gave it a little bit of bend at the end. So without further ado, we'll jump into the video. So first thing I did was grab a sheet of 1/4 inch red oak wood, I think it was, and then I marked off 38 inches, and this board, before I cut it or anything, is about 10 inches wide, and I think I cut it down to about 9 inches wide for the board. So I'm just marking out the measurements here. So I cut the 1/4 inch into 3 sheets, and then with the 3 sheets, I'm gonna glue them and clamp them together, and hopefully that's gonna be strong enough, but not too strong to where I can get a little bit of flex in the board. So after that, I'm gluing it now, and I'm being very generous with the glue, and I didn't have a roller, so I just used a glove and kind of spread it around. So I spread it around, make sure I got all the corners, set that off to the side, got the second one ready. I did a front and a back on that one, so glue will be touching glue there. And then for the last board, I just put a bunch on, so I didn't have to put it on the other sheet. So here I put I put 4 little clamps on the side just to kind of keep it together while I was moving it around. And in this part, I'm gonna add some concavity to the board, and I'm doing this before I cut it. So I did a piece down the middle of the board, and then 2 cross pieces on top, as you can see. And then I clamped it down onto the workbench, and that gave it a nice flex. As you can see, the glue is dripping out, so I give it a very generous amount. And it's better to go too much than too little, just to make sure it fills up every gap, stuff like that. So I was doing this single-handedly, so I didn't really, it's a little tougher, kind of had to move around the work area a little. But yeah, I just kind of pulled down the middle of the board and just really tried to get that concave effect to it, which ultimately helps with grip. Here I printed out the board with an online template, and I cut it out, pieced it together, and now I'm tracing it onto the board. Here I'm cutting out what I traced with the jigsaw. I didn't go too big of a blade. I went with a smaller blade so I could get a finer cut. So yeah, just tracing around what I did, cutting it out. I'm being very slow on the edges, just because it's kind of a sharp angle to turn on. So you don't want to rush it, otherwise it would get big. You could cut the board, you could splinter the board and stuff like that, so I was being very slow and patient with it. Here I'm sanding it with kind of a handheld belt sander, and that's just to smooth it out, round the edges, make it nice and soft, not make it so rectangular shaped on the corners. After I did kind of a rough sand with the handheld, then I went with a fine grit just to really smooth it out And after this, you can just run your hand over it and you're not worrying about splinters or anything like that. This also really helps smooth out what the big grinder was doing. So it makes it smooth, it just blends it all together. I just hit the top of the board with just a little bit of sanding, hit the bottom with a little bit of sanding, just to kind of smooth everything out, get some excess glue off if there's anything like that on it. Yeah. So here I'm drilling out the holes for the trucks. Obviously just 4 holes. Put a piece of wood under it so I don't go all the way through. And now I'm applying the grip tape. I did pretty well with it. This was my first time doing it ever. And I was surprised I didn't have any bubbles or anything like that to work with, to try to get rid of. So the cutting here was a little challenging. Kind of looks like a noob did it, but that's alright because I am a noob. So yeah, it was a little rough, but right here I go back over, kind of fix some of the impurities I had. And overall I think it turned out very well. For my first time doing it, it turned out pretty well. So now I'm just drilling in the trucks, you know, just the 4 bolts going through to the bottom. And right here you can see I didn't put any risers in just because I thought it was high enough off the ground already. So when I add the motor and the pulley system, I think it'll definitely be high enough so it won't hit anything when I go over curves and stuff. Alright, so that wraps it up for this video. This is going to be a 2-part series, and in the second part I'll put on the electronics, so please subscribe for that so you don't miss when I put that video up. Thank you.